You know, even if Wall Street doesn't flip over a president, history shows us that it does prefer a strong president. But this president is getting blasted on all sides for his Oval Office speech, widely viewed as a botched opportunity to gain the high ground on a very low-in-the-ocean spill. And the Fox Oil stars say that any sign of weakness is generally not good when it comes to an increasingly flaky market. Which brings us to Jonathan Hoda. No, I'm kidding. Liz McDonald, Susie Coelho, and Mike Norman. Jonathan, what of that view that we don't like our commanders-in-chief to look less commander-like?
Well, I agree with that, Neil, though I have to say I don't think that the market or even the economy's success is dependent on any speech from the president. It is dependent, however, on his political philosophy. We know that from history, the most prosperous countries have always been the most free, i.e. the most capitalist, and unfortunately last night, I don't think the president did anything to reverse the widely held perception that he is not only anti-capitalist, but specifically anti-oil. I mean, what rang in my head last night was his phrase, the menacing cloud of dark crude or a black crude. I mean, we can expect.
He was referring to you.
Well, what he's referring to is higher energy prices, because he's going to use this as an example to push through the green agenda. That's not good for the market or for anybody.
You know, I was flipping around when I got back last night, Susie, and I'm looking at LSN, and when I'm hearing some of these other more liberal bastions, not to say we're being liberal, that's fine.
No, you got to have both sides.
We're saying he botched it. And I'm thinking, boy, this is his base telling him he's losing his base.
Yeah, well, then you're really in trouble, aren't you? And I just don't see him really coming out as a strong leader. I mean, the markets are up today. I think they're very, Wall Street and Main Street are very ho-hum about president's speeches at this point. But how about the fact that weeks ago he said he didn't want to meet with the CEO of BP? Here's our leader, the head of our country, who we're expecting to pull this thing off, and he doesn't even want to meet with him. And the excuse he gave, why? Oh, well, he's just going to give me a PR line.
Well, I met with him today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how long, you know, how long did he wait? I mean, we need our leader to be able to meet with anybody, and be able to evaluate the data and either throw it out, bring in some new guys. I mean, I just don't show that that's a leader. That just does not show us that it's a leader quality, and it does not give us confidence. And I don't think the American people have confidence.
One of the polls, I think it might have been a Gallup poll, Mike, it said when it came to Americans increasing skittishness over the Gulf, is that it is now framing government inability to deal with things, and that this president is taking the heat for that, fairly or not. I don't think it's very fair. Just I didn't think whacking Bush for Katrina was fair. I think that there are some things that are beyond a president's control. Having said that, what do you make of that argument, that we are seeing this as a metaphor for government ineffectiveness?
Yeah, I don't think it's even framing it. I think the framing was already happening, but this crystallizes it in the minds of the electorate at a very bad time, because it looks like we may be heading back down again, and it's not so much.
You think so, really?
I do, and it's not
heading back down for a double dip.
A double dip. It's not so much a president's political philosophy, because you could look over the entire period of history. We've had liberal presidents, we've had conservative.
Right.
The national income has gone up, but it has to do with economic policy. And I think that's where his weakness really came out, on jobs, on financial reform, on all the things that were necessary to prevent what happened already. None of that. None of that. We saw none of that.
Liz, if you can just pipe down. What do you make of that?
No,
Don't instigate her, because
no,
Once she gets going, you just
I love it when she gets going.
When she gets those great lines going. Give him some of those lines, Lizzie.
I don't have any in my hip pocket right now. But anyway, so you know, I think that actually I agree with Jonathan. I don't think the market's like an activist government. That's the flip side of his argument. They don't like an interventionist argument. But they do want a president that does seize the reins, takes control of the situation. They liked it when the TARP was announced. They liked it when the stress tests were announced on the banks. They didn't like it when the President Clinton had a fight with Newt Gingrich and the standoff.
But they didn't mind Monica Lewinsky.
But they didn't mind Monica Lewinsky. It was a nice distraction while they went around their business.
As it was for Bill Clinton.
As it was for Bill
So,
Clinton.
Susie, do you think in the end that people are going to look at this as an indictment on the president? He gets by this. I mean, we've been at low points in the presidency before, and the market's quite rightly, I think I've heard in varying degrees from all of you, move on to the economy that looks good, great. If earnings continue to look good, great. The other stuff doesn't matter.
Well, I think it does matter. I think that what the Americans are looking for from this president now, and especially after this whole issue with BP, is leadership. And they're more and more focused on leadership. And he's going to have to pull something off in a big way. And he's going to have some statistics. He has no solid statistics that are really changing this situation.
Well, Neil, that's what worries me. That sense of, well, we got to do something big. I mean, even asked today, you know, Gibbs, I believe, said something like 20 billion was a big number, a number we felt that could cover all possible claims. So it's that sense of, oh, we got to do something that led to TARP, that led to all the intervention. And unfortunately, I think it's going to lead to even more government control over energy in this country.
All right, when we come back, despite the president's call for more spending, today a V8 moment for Democrats. Yeah, Democrats. All right, a Fox Biz alert for you. The Senate defeating a $141 billion spending package that included tax incentives and extending unemployment benefits. Republicans were the only ones saying nay to the bill that would have added another $80 billion to the deficit. A handful of Democrats joining the GOP to bring down this measure. That doesn't happen. Lizzie, that's a spending rule.
Yeah, I'll tell you, hip, hip, hooray, because I felt like the Congress is about to declare a unilateral withdrawal from reality, given how the bond markets have been reacting to what is going on with Greece debt, Portugal's debt, and you know, the bond vigilantes are really blowing out the spreads on bond yields over there in Europe. And I'm talking about Europe. Sweetie. This is, you know, this has always been a debt be not proud moment. And you asked my one-liners, here they come. For the U.S. Congress to continue on this course, and they said they promised they're going to sit on their hands, but they continue to spend. It is an, I'm sorry, I am personally outraged.
No, I am too.
What are we outraged about?
We're just so outraged about their spending. They've got to rein it in. They're spending more than...
I'm outraged that you're outraged. Why are you angry?
Okay,
what
well,
happened?
look at this.
They stopped. They didn't do it today.
All right, how many
took a day off.
How many people actually understand, Neil, what $1 trillion is? Trillions of dollars. The average American person does not understand that.
It's an accounting entry on a spreadsheet.
I know, but listen to this. To just put some realism to this, if you spent $2.5 million a day from the time of Christ up until now, that's how much it would take to make a $1.8 trillion deficit.
Well, maybe someone ran that by Congress. What do you say, Mike?
Look, I'm going to try to explain this, as I always try to explain this. Look,
well, really try to get through to us this time.
Susie, wait.
Listen,
I'm going to try to explain this. When bank credit is there's two kinds of money. There's bank money, bank credit, and there's a government's money. When bank credit is contracting, if the government doesn't supply money, then economic activity collapses violently and you go into a depression. And what's happening now is that up until now, even though bank credit has been contracting, the government has been supplying money. The way it supplies it is by spending it into the economy. But now it's pulling back too. That's why we're going down. Unemployment's going to shoot up.
You know what you just did? We had a heated, emotional segment,
because
you made it boring.
Because government hasn't
I made it boring? How did I make it boring?
By here's an example.
Injecting the truth?
They're giving handouts for unemployment.
Yes.
And meanwhile, I talked to this one driver. He has a company.
Your driver?
No, just a driver. He has a driving company, and he could not get his guys to come back. Why? Because they were on unemployment. You know, this
well, that's ridiculous. Not a lot of that. But all right, Jonathan, don't yell at me, Jonathan.
That's so ridiculous.
And Neil, I mean, as Frank Lunds and others on your program, Neil, have pointed out, the spending, the deficit really is a kitchen table issue now. This is something that folks of all different economic strata are talking about. And they see, at least from my estimation, the progressive plan, what Mike is alluding to, basically taxing people who produce, whether it's high net worth individuals.
The spending isn't the problem.
Hang on. Because if you look at the amount of taxes collected year over year, we're down this year. So you can't say taxes have gone up. Now, they might go up.
But Mike, people are rising.
We collect 2.7 trillion taxes. We borrow the rest. Even Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke said we have to get our fiscal house in order or we will lose control of our interest rates.
Bernanke, the same guy who messed the financial crisis.
That's right. And it is a monetary problem and a fiscal problem.
And this country's economy is built on hard work. That's the only thing I know that makes me...
You're not saying Mike doesn't work hard.
Well, I don't know, because I have to work to make a living, and so does most other people I know. So it's based on jobs and on people producing and exchanging for that money.
And you have to, you know...
You want to keep it going.
No, I'm saying to produce... I totally agree with Susie, but don't you need money to produce?
Johnny, quick final point.
Well, we've spent a lot of money, and we've got an unemployment rate, even after that spending, up near 10%.
Well,
the government
you know
spending,
something?
Mike,
It
does
would
not
be
create jobs.
40% if we didn't, you're saying, right?
Banks create 10 times
All right,
more
guys,
money than the government, and that's going down.
I can't leave without telling you, tomorrow we have Troy Aikman and Jean-Michel Cousteau, the son of Jacques Cousteau, together. I have no idea what they're about, but they've got a solution for the Gulf. That pair alone should be paper.
Good day.